check out my probe. I have wanted to get my hands on one of these for so long, and now we finally stock Laowa. Yes, 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 yes. If you haven't been on the internet for like 5 years, this is the Laowa 24mm probe lens. This is such a cool, niche, weird piece of kit. It's got an F14 minimum aperture, a non-lockable aperture ring, which I have to say has driven me crazy. It's waterproof up until about here. It's got a USB-C input so that you can power it to turn on these lights at the end. It's an ultra macro and it's a bit of a pain to use, but oh my God, does it make cool shots. Now this lens has been out for a while. You will have definitely seen shots made with this lens. It is predominantly focused towards video, but basically I got really excited and I wanted to get some stills with it as well. So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience with this lens, and also I've passed it over to George as well, and he's going to talk a little bit about his experience with it. Now this has been out a while. There are tons of specs about it, and if you want to find out and read all about this lens, check out our website. We've got tons of information on there, and I have popped a link in the description for you, or if you're on YouTube, you can click the card at the top corner of the screen. But I just wanted to sort of show you what you can get with this and why. Now this is a 24mm focal length at the end here, and it is an ultra macro. So what that means is that you can get very close to things that are tiny and make them look big, like they're in a real scene. So the first thing I did was I called up my brother, who you have probably seen in our videos before because he's annoyingly good looking. It's very frustrating for me, but he's also a very good scale model maker. He took it up I think at the start of furlough last year, at the start of lockdown, out of sheer boredom, and it's now become a bit of an obsession. And he recently finished a diorama. He's been focusing on World War II, and it was a diorama of the D-Day landing. So we've got some cool like resin waves, there's some people, there's some like boats, landing crafts, I think they're called. And I thought this is going to be the perfect shooting experience with this probe lens. So first of all, I lent him the lens to try and get some images, but unfortunately, because this is an F14 minimum aperture, it's actually quite difficult to get a good lighting situation. You need a lot of light, especially as this, you see every little wobble because of the length of this thing. So instead, I met him at the beach where you've got loads of shingles. We had some water in the background. I thought this is great because we can create a sort of artificial background using real life, and the same with the pebbles and the sea. And then we've also got that really good natural light, and it was a sunny day. Now, I was so excited to shoot with this, and to begin with, I found it quite frustrating because it was quite hard to shoot with. This is the sort of lens you use for a very specific shot, but I loved some of the stills I did manage to get with this. You could just get this look of like hyper realism by being able to be so close, but also have that depth of field and that width of focal length as well. So I really enjoyed shooting stills with it. That was a little bit easier because on the pebbles, it was an incredibly windy day when we were shooting. So we were getting a little bit of wobble on the lens. I had a tripod with me, quite a hefty carbon fibre Gitzo tripod, which I'm using now to shoot this. And even that, because I had a slider on it, there was just a slight bit of movement. So we have stabilised a few of these shots that you're seeing, but it was fantastic fun to shoot stills with.
When I heard Amy was getting this lens in, I was literally begging her to send it to me because this is a lens I've wanted to try out for years, and I'm so grateful that I've had the opportunity to do so. Now, I will start off by saying I do agree with Amy. It is a difficult lens to use. There are certain factors about the lens, for example, the length of the lens. The lens is really long, which means that any micro jitters or any wind or anything like that is so obvious because of the length of the lens. I would actually say that I think this lens is probably only really appropriate for shooting with a tripod or with a slider. Now, unfortunately, I don't actually have a slider on me at the moment, so I was pretty much just limited to tripod shooting. I did try handheld just to see what was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to work, and it definitely didn't. The shots were not usable at all. They were far too shaky. Another challenge of using this lens is the F14 Minimum Aperture. It basically means that if you're shooting inside, like I did a fair bit, you need a lot of lighting to make it work. Or you need a good low light camera, or preferably you need both. Luckily, I did have both, because I lit it all myself, but I also shot it on the Sony a7S II, which is a really, really good low light camera. So I think between the two of them, I totally made that work. I didn't have too many issues with that. It's also, of course, got that ring light on the front of the lens, which you can use and does help a lot with getting light to your subject. But it's worth noting that if your subject is reflective in any way, then it's not really going to work, because I tried it on things that were reflective and it was just so incredibly obvious. It almost looked like a camera flash or something. It was so obvious that I was just shining a light directly onto it from incredibly close. So it's worth just remembering that, that the ring light is really, really useful, but it will be much more useful on matte objects or more plain objects that aren't reflective. So while I admit there's a few reasons this lens can be difficult to use, it's just worth it. It's worth it because the shots you can get are awesome. They're so unique and they're so like epic. The fact that you can get so unbelievably close to your subjects and focus on them so close, but then you also get this wide angle, it's such an interesting, weird combo. Like, I went into my garden and there were some ants in my garden and I was just filming these ants and like, it looks like something out of Bug's Life or something. It's awesome. Like, they look, the sense of scale is really, really impressive. So yes, I admit it was a little bit tricky to shoot with. There's a few things you're gonna have to sort of think about when you do it. But you use this lens for a specific purpose. You're not using this lens for all of the shots you're doing. You're using it for one or two specific shots. And any difficulties you encounter when using the lens are completely worth it to get those shots, because you're just not going to be able to get them otherwise. I think for food, anything food related, food photography, food videography, or product stuff, any product things where you want to get really close and see all of the texture and all of the detail in there, or of course any wildlife if you want to do wildlife filming like I did with the ants. So yeah, any difficulties that come with the lens, I don't care about them. I'm not bothered because the footage I got was so cool and it's so unique, and I genuinely just had so much fun using the lens and like so much creativity, because you're here and you're like, oh, I can literally film anything and it will look cool. I started filming my like legs and just like moving around like through my leg hair or something, and I was like, this is really, really cool. Even this ridiculously weird shot, it just doesn't look like it. It's a completely different perspective that you're not going to get in many other places. So yeah, for me, I'm so grateful I got to use this lens and I had loads of fun using it. And for anybody that wants any of these specific shots, because it is going to be superb at getting particular shots, or just wants to have a really, really, really cool lens which has loads of absurd, weird uses and is just genuinely really, really fun to play with, then I would massively recommend checking out the Probe lens. If you want to stay up to date with the channel, because we've got more videos coming out about Laowa lenses particularly, then you can hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We'd really appreciate it. And of course, if you have any comments or anything you'd like to ask me or Amy, then you can pop it in the section below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. But apart from that, I just want to say thanks for watching.